Fake news stories have become increasingly popular on Facebook and Twitter. It started in 2016. Stories began circulating online about then presidential candidate Hillary Clinton and other public figures. Fake news isn't new, though. Records of fake news stories go back to the 1400s. In 1835, the newspaper The New York Sun published The Great Moon Hoax, which claimed life was discovered on the moon. President Donald Trump made famous the term fake news during his campaign in 2016.
Media outlets like CNN and MSNBC are fake news.
The Society of Professional Journalists decided to get to the bottom of fake news in a panel at LA City College on May 17th.
But there's ways to keep it in check with good editors, and oftentimes you need to signal what your bias is, if it exists, rather than just pretend like it doesn't exist.
People just need to read media differently and look at the headline. Does it match the rest of the story? Who are the sources? Are they named? If they're not named, why? When a claim is made, is there evidence or is there an assumption? Who's the reporter? Who's the organization? Is it a real organization? Check the URL, check the link. Is it a legitimate organization or a silly front?
In April, Facebook began expanding security measures to protect against the spread of misinformation to influence public sentiment. When someone shared a news story that wasn't from a reputable source, a warning came up telling the person sharing it that the story has been disputed. Evan George, KCRW producer of To The Point, says the impact of fake news does everything from affect our politics to muddying up our social media feeds when trying to find something to read and share with others.
BuzzFeed did an analysis in 2016 of fake news, as defined as fraudulent news, fantasy news, stuff that's verifiably not real, and found that 10 million of 21 million shares could be qualified as fake news.
Jim Newton is a former reporter for the LA Times. He says when he used to work for the newspaper, reporters would have been concerned about exposing information. Now reporters have to share more information because otherwise they would be called fake news.
And in the story and in the interviews he was giving about the story before it was ever published, which in itself is sort of dazzling to me, he explicitly said that their sources had asked them not to run the name of the city from which the intelligence was gathered, presumably in Syria, or the name of the country that provided the intelligence that was at issue, which the New York Times later reported to be Israel.
Recently, Democratic Senator Mark Warner of Virginia and chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee said the Kremlin hired 1,000 people to create fake anti-Hillary news stories to target swing states during the 2016 election.
We know that there were upwards of 1,000 paid internet trolls working out of a facility in Russia, in effect taking over a series of computers, which is then called a botnet. They can then generate news down to specific areas.
In a 2015 Washington Post story, a North Carolina man entered a Washington pizza shop carrying an assault rifle. It was an attempt to self-investigate a false news story about Hillary Clinton and her former campaign manager running a child sex ring.
Utterly bogus story about child abuse promoted on the internet. How scary was the situation? He allegedly pointed the gun in the direction of an employee and fired the weapon inside the restaurant. The origin of this crazy story was a posting on WikiLeaks involving Clinton campaign manager John Podesta discussing a fundraiser with the owner of the restaurant. Somehow that posting morphed into a baseless allegations of crimes involving Podesta and Hillary Clinton, lies becoming dangerous.
So the advice of SPJ panelists is to always check the article before you read it and to look at the organization publishing the article before you take it as fact. Reporting for Collegian Wire, this is Rebecca Grazier.